What's up, everyone? This is Neal D,
I'm Giuseppe.
and this is the very first show of the Retro Film Podcast. And today we're going to discuss my pick for slasher films, and it's a classic from 1980 called Terror Train. And the reason I picked this film, let me tell a little story here, is I was in my kitchen, flashback to 1983, because they did show slasher films, as you know, Giuseppe, well after the year it came out on cable all the time. So, 1983, I'm in my kitchen and I'm listening to my mom had just bought me Def Leppard's Pyromania on cassette. So I was listening to that, rocking out at 7 or 8 years old, listening to Rock of Ages and kind of bobbing my head. And shout out to Def Leppard, right? And I just was kind of bored with it, so I put my cassette tape down in my cassette player, and I went into the Lazy Boy, which is what everybody had in the '80s, in front of the TV. And I don't know about you, Giuseppe, but Movie Channel was the only luxury I had we had as a kid, middle class family. So my mom always loved movies, so she made it a note to get some of the premium channels. Cable was new at that point too, fairly. So Movie Channel was always on, and they always played like the slasher films and stuff. So I went, sat on the Lazy Boy, and missed the opening credits, but I saw the train going by with the smoke. And I'm like, "Ooh, this piqued my interest. I liked trains." And just watched it and was like, wow. I was just blown away. Like, this was like the freakiest thing I'd ever seen at that age. You know what I mean? And it was the first slasher film I'd ever seen. This is not, came out in 1980. There was only a few after that. I was watching it in 1983, but it's a golden era of slasher films. So, I was just like so fascinated by it. I was talking to the kids in school, talking to my mom about it. My mom let us watch slasher films. She didn't care. She was pretty liberal with that. So that started my craze on the slasher film genre. So I had to do Terror Train. Love it or leave it. It is a classic. I mean, it deals with themes of revenge, illusion, and gender bending, which is pretty unique. I can't think of any other slasher film that had those themes in it, really.
Yeah, back in that time, it was definitely something that no one would expect. It's like there's another slasher movie that I could think of where they did tackle something like that, but we'll get to that when we get to 1983.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure there is, but I mean, like that film was just so unique, and we could get into how unique it is. But I do want to do a plot summary for those listeners that maybe have not seen Terror Train. Maybe they're a little younger; they haven't gotten to it. It's 3 years after a prank goes terribly wrong, and six college students responsible are targeted by a masked killer at a New Year's Eve party aboard a train. Now, we could get into how unique Terror Train is, because it is definitely unique for a slasher film from that time period. What sets it apart is, for one, it's claustrophobic as fuck. I mean, they're on a train. Think about that. There's no escape. It's inescapable. Those trains cannot stop. Those are those old-fashioned trains where once they're hauling on the track, they don't stop, man. So think about that. You're stuck on a train with somebody picking people off, killing them. There's nowhere to go, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing too. It's like the only way out is it's like it's pretty much instant death because you would have to jump off the train. That's the only way you can escape, and you face imminent death if that's your only means of escape. So it's like you're either going to die on or off the train, man.
Or fight them off,
You could
try to kill them.
Yeah, exactly, because we know how those slasher movies go. We know that some people try to put up a fight, some people win, some people lose. Most people lose.
Right, right, or else we wouldn't have a film. But
exactly.
Yeah, so that's the main. I mean, it's claustrophobic. I mean, It's an old-fashioned train. There's nowhere to go. There's just like rooms and like a dining area, a partying area, and there's really nowhere to escape from. Uh, and the train is almost a character itself. Like you don't really notice it when you watch it, but after you watch it over the years, if you revisit it, and it is a replayable
Oh yeah, absolutely.
film, definitely. It does have replay value. I mean, I just, obviously recently watched it and it's still entertaining.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the train is like it's always there. It's like a character in itself. Like they're stuck on a train, and think about like the killer. Spoiler alert. The whole plot is all right. These six medical students play a terrible prank. Let's describe the prank a little bit. So they do this kind of, it's one of those slasher films that the nerdy kid gets bullied. We've seen this before. I
Right.
mean, but then this is 1980, so this is set of presidents. So this is one of the first popular kids bullying the nerd type of films. Um, that was released in the theaters, anyways. So they pull this prank with sexual tendencies in it and everything else, and he ends up getting himself wrapped in. They're on a bed, and the main characters are Alina, Doc, Mitchie, Mo, Jackson, and Eddie. Those are the six main characters.
Right.
Elena is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who just came off the tail ends of Halloween,
Halloween. Yeah.
obviously.
I mean, one of the biggest and most well known of the Scream Queens. I mean, I feel like that title was created for her. You know, not saying it
Right.
was, but like it's like when you think of the Scream Queens, when you think of horror movies, when you think of slasher movies, you do think of Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween,
Absolutely.
Prom
Well, I
Night,
mean, that's all she
you know.
did
Yeah. And
in the beginning of her career, a slew of them.
exactly. And
you
and
know,
that's the thing too, because a lot of times when people do those horror movies, that's usually where they stay. And that's not a bad thing because you know me, I love horror movies and it's always cool to see the same actors over and over because you know that that's what they do. And she was just really good at it, especially when it came to the Scream.
absolutely. And she had a unique look too. She had a girl next door look, which made her marketable. She
Exactly.
wasn't a sexy blonde bimbo that a lot of these films had. Those were a dime a dozen. You got to remember, she had a very distinctive look. Love her or hate her, she had a unique look. She was not unattractive, but she was an extremely California beach girl attractive. She had a homely girl next door character, and that's why John Carpenter used her in Halloween.
Right.
She had that look. Now the director of Terror Train marketed on that, and he was smart to get her in there because she was building a name for herself already with Prom Night, these type of films.
Right. And
So
that was yeah, that was the thing with this one too, is because like she wasn't exactly just the girl next door either. Like she wasn't like one of the sex fiend characters really, but she was a little more. She had a little more attitude. You know, she wasn't just like, you know, the scared little girl like in the first Halloween movie. She had attitude. You know, like she was able to like really hold
oh yeah,
as as a woman in the film. You know.
absolutely, very strong woman. Yeah,
Yeah.
represented a strong woman for sure.
Right.
Um, yeah, she wasn't like the shy, bashful,
Right. But she
innocent girl next door.
right. But she
That
was yeah. But she also had enough heart to feel bad for the prank that they played on Kenny
right,
at the beginning of
right.
because she didn't know, you could tell from her face she didn't know what was going on. She just knew that they were
No, I mean, Kenny was pledging this fraternity, medical school,
right,
big fraternity, and you had the alpha male guys, the pranksters. Let's play a joke on Kenny. Now this is interesting, Giuseppe. Let me get your viewpoint on this and see what our viewers think about this. I was thinking about this. Was Kenny an actual real pledge, or was it? Are fraternities legally able to do like fictitious pledges just to play a prank on him? That's what I've always wondered because he's wearing the fraternity jacket in the beginning,
right.
and he looks like and he has like the beanie, and he looks like a pledge, like all the other guys. And I wondered, was he really? Were they really pledging him, and were they going to allow him into the fraternity, or were they just doing that to play the prank on him.
Oh, see, dude, like I totally see that as like they knew right away that he was their mark. He knew that they knew that this kid coming in was going to be the dude that they just destroy. You know, I feel like they put him through this, and that was their plan from the beginning. They're looking at this kid
Mhm.
coming in, this skinny, nerdy kid that, like, you know, shy, nervous around women. Definitely not what I guess they would consider to be like fraternity material. So they knew, you could tell that they knew from the beginning that they were going to really do something to this kid. I mean, you wouldn't think that it would be as bad as what they did. You know, uh, I get like having a woman lure the kid into the room. You know, because that's happened in other movies. You've seen that before. But the biggest the biggest shock was him getting into the bed thinking it was Alana, Jamie Lee Curtis, and it was an actual, it was supposed to be an actual dead body.
It
And he,
was.
and that right, that, but that's what I'm saying though, because they were medical students. They had
Right.
they had the means to bring in
Yeah, the cadaver.
exactly an actual dead body. Dude, I would freak out like him too. I mean, just seeing him like
Absolutely.
spin around in you know the canopy or whatever, and it's like they're all laughing at him. So it's like just from that, you kind of get the sense that he was their target from the beginning.
But I do think that they didn't know, they didn't expect that to happen, obviously. They didn't anticipate. It was just supposed to be a harmless prank. Tasteless and a bad prank, but a harmless prank. And that was that. Get their laughs at his expense. They didn't realize that this was going to traumatize him to insanity. So we fast forward to 3 years later. Now here's another question of mine. I've never heard of this. It's a New Year's Eve costume party. In my area, we never had those. Have you ever heard of that, Giuseppe?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
uh,
it's fun, but
yeah,
I
I
just
mean,
never dressed up in a costume on New Year's like it's Halloween.
I've never done it, but like I know that people do like New Year's masquerade parties. I know those are a little
Mm,
different. That you know, it's just like they just wear like the
yeah,
mask and they dress up in their suits or whatever. But in a sense, that is a costume party. But like people will people will make parties, have costume parties for anything. So it's like I kind
right,
of get. I
true.
mean, look, they're on a train. They're on, like, it's a novelty train. You know what I mean? It's an excursion, as they would call it.
No,
And
it's a cool idea.
oh, absolutely,
Absolutely.
definitely a cool idea, especially since like even at that time, even in 1980, the steam engine really wasn't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
They're even talking about it in the movie. It's like, oh well, trains are going to come back, and it's like, yeah, trains are all over the place, but they're electric. They still have diesel
Hmm.
engines, but they don't have
Excella trains, yeah,
exactly,
they're
yeah,
different. So
exactly. The
this is an
steam,
old fashioned, yeah,
yeah. So
steam. This is a it's a pretty rad train.
yeah, because I think even now you can still do, you can get on a steam engine train, but it's not really for travel. It's more for, the novelty of it.
Right.
And that was like the really cool thing about it, because like even in 1980, this is 45 years ago, that like that was already a novelty by that point. And
Yeah.
but like you said, that was a cool idea, like getting the steam engine train. Everybody's on the train. It's like, hey, we might as well make it a costume party. You know what I mean? It's like, let's have a good time.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I just never seen that before. But so Mo, which is Elena's boyfriend, which is one of the main medical students,
Hmm.
gets this present for her as a surprise. And it's New Year's Eve. They're celebrating and they're all out in front. It's looks like it's freezing as
Yeah,
shit out there. Like it's
yeah,
you could see your breath
oh,
freezing.
yeah,
And we have them dressed up like one of the main characters, Eddie, is dressed in a Groucho Marx costume, which I automatically caught my eye because I'm a big Groucho Marx fan and I just love that look.
yeah,
Right. So he's joking around. He's the prankster of the group, and they're boarding everybody on, trying to get him on, and he's always joking with people now.
yeah.
So it's like the boy who cried wolf type of scenario.
Oh yeah,
So he comes up with a sword through him, and they're saying, "Oh, it's jokester Eddie pulling another prank. Oh, it's a good one, Eddie." You know what I mean?
seemed
Like it
like
looks real, and he's really
yeah,
got the sword through him, and he's dying. and then we see an unknown assailant pull the Groucho Mark mask off in the vest and hop onto the train.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, where it starts.
Hey, you seen my girlfriend? She's the one with the big caboose. That was
Right,
hilarious. Like all those jokes that he told
right.
before they got on the train. Like
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, come on, Eddie," you know. But the thing that was wild about that scene after, you know, he took the costume and everything, just seeing the train run over his body. Like you don't see, they don't show the whole
Yeah.
thing, but like just like it going over his hand, it's like you know what's happening next. That body is destroyed. That body is squashed. You know, there's
Yeah.
I mean, the sword through the chest, that's one thing. Possibly could have survived, maybe, I don't know, but like
No.
once that train goes over, that train at any speed going over you, that's game over. Game over, man.
Yep. So now we know the killer. And here's one of the backlashes of slasher of Terror Train, is that we know the killer from the beginning, who the killer is, which is not a problem for me.
I mean, dude,
it still had suspense. We know it's Kenny getting revenge. Obviously, we know he's on the train now. But what saves that is that we know as viewers, but the protagonists on the train don't know who the killer is. They don't figure out it's Kenny yet.
Right.
So they're like, who the heck is doing this finally? It's kind of a slow burn in the beginning, the first two acts. I mean, there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of action. We see a couple of deaths. Some of the backlashes, there's not a lot of action. There's minimal blood, minimal the killings and gore. But you gotta, it's 1980. I mean, this was edgy for 1980.
Oh, absolutely.
It plays more like has more psychological depth than the average slasher film, and that's what I like about it. It's a slow build up. It actually has a storyline to it. It has an unrequited love aspect to it, and these come off as real people with real relationships, and that's why I love Terror Train so much. Is that's what makes it unique to me, is that it has character backdrop and development, which a lot of these slasher films didn't. A lot of them were set in the woods, especially in 1980, where it's just dumb teenage to 20 somethings having drugs, having sex rather, and doing drugs, and then just getting killed by a known killer. This was just a lot more intellectual, and some people might not like that. But the killer shapes, he ships costumes too, which is unique. I personally love the Groucho Marx costume. I wish he wore that through the whole thing, but
I mean, yeah, that Groucho costume was yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot creepier than the lizard costume, than anything else that he put on, because especially at one point where he's like, you know, he's in there, he's not talking. They don't realize that it's him under the mask yet. So he's in there and they ask him, "Hey, you want a drink?" And he just looks at him and he nods. But like, even though he's wearing a mask, you can see the anger on his face. Like you could see the revenge, like just boiling, that he's ready to just destroy everybody on that train. And you know, like one of the, you know, and it was really interesting where like you see that they had like, I guess they were like new pledges or new members of the fraternity, where they were mentioning, they're like, yeah, we heard some kids got kicked out because of some prank that they did or whatever. And the guy's like, what's his name, Doc, he's like, yeah, almost kicked out. They're like, oh, was that you? And then, you know, Alana gets all pissed off. It's like, oh yeah, you know, it's like, yeah, the dude went crazy, the dude went mental. And Doc was a dick, dude. He was a
D-bag, but they counter. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, he was just like, because you kind of couldn't make like heads or tails of him. Was he into Alana? Was he into Jamie Lee Curtis's character? So much to the point that he was doing everything that he could to screw his friend over? Or was it because he's, you know, the prankster, that he's like, yo, I'm gonna get Mo tonight. You know, it's like, when Mo was like, you know, she's like, yeah, you know, I always wanted a model train. I'm so glad you did this. And then Doc's like, well, it was my idea. And she gets all pissed off, and understandably so, because it's like, you got a boyfriend who's telling you, hey, I set up this awesome trip for you. You know, we're going to do something really cool. And it's like, yeah, he's not the one who thought of it. I am. So it's like, is it because he's trying to mess with him? He's trying to mess with his buddy? Or is it because he's trying to get Alana to like him. Like, hey, I know you well enough to know that you would want this kind of a train ride. And then when
I
they're
never
off,
thought of that aspect.
you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
because when guys are like when guys are into chicks or
Right.
into a girl or whatever, it's like they pay attention. You know what I mean? They know what they like, they know what they want, and the fact that her own boyfriend didn't think, hey, I'm gonna get you a train ride on an old school train, on a novelty train, steam engine train, because I know how much you love trains. This other guy did it. It's like, okay, was it because he knows her, he likes her, he
Right.
wants her to realize that he's actually the guy for her, or is it just because like he just can't help himself, but just really want to mess with everybody he knows and just like sit back and laugh at at the destruction that he's causing?
I just think he was an arrogant dick. Yeah, personally. I mean, I don't think
No,
he was.
but that's what I'm
I,
saying. Though it's fair,
he was just an arrogant dick. That was just his personality, playing practical
right?
jokes on everyone. The alpha male trying to make other people down. And Mo wasn't. Mo was different. You know what I mean? Mo was more sensitive. It's kind of like what you're saying is like the Steph Blaine effect from Pretty in Pink.
Yes.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
Doc was Steph, the dick who wanted
Yeah.
kind of was attracted to Andy, and Blaine was getting Andy, type of deal. So he
Yes.
was putting, that kind of, yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit, but,
Because like
um,
that was kind of what I got from the beginning. I'm like, okay, this dude likes Alana. Doc likes Alana, so he's trying to like ruin their relationship so she'll go into his arms, but she doesn't like him either. She
right,
even says to him, she's like, if I knew it was his party, if I knew it was his idea, I wouldn't have come here. And then he's like, well, you can't leave. You're stuck on this
right,
train.
right.
Like he's like, you always leave my parties, but you can't leave this one.
Well, she also mentioned something. I mean, I don't know verbatim, but she said something to the effect, why do you always let him put you down to Mo or something? Why is your allegiance to him so strong or something like
Right.
that?
Yeah. And it was
Because they're best friends or whatever, you
yeah.
know what I mean?
And
And he
she
kind of brushes it off.
yeah,
But
and
she
she
don't like him. No, she
right.
don't like him.
Right. And it's like, even if that's what he was trying to do, there was no chance because she even said to him, she's like, you can't, she's like, can't you do anything without trying to hurt somebody?
Right.
Can't you have fun without hurting somebody? And it's like, that's an important line because like, that's the type of guy he was. And it's like,
Yeah.
not just, it wasn't just him. And it's like, in a lot of these 80s movies, it's like when the guy's girlfriend like walks away, it's like that's his cue to like, okay, I'm gonna find somebody else now. Because then you got Mo and Doc sitting
Right.
there with the other two women, and they're like, yeah, we got to go backstage, we got to go back to another room, and we got to like do some stuff. It's like, hey, let me run some tests on you or whatever whatever doctor innuendo they try to use. And it's like,
Right.
once, of course, Mitchie saw Doc walk away with the girls and, try to pretend nothing was going on. Yeah, let's just stay here and dance. And then, of course,
Right. Right.
Doc walks away from Mo and the other chick. It's like, oh, hey, Mo's back there. And it's like sending Jamie
Well, I
Lee
mean,
back there.
it's an '80s movie, so you can't
Yeah.
have an '80s movie without young, red-blooded guys trying to get laid at any
No, of
cost.
course, of course.
You know what I mean? So you got to throw that element in there, and like that's the theme of slasher films is people having sex. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Of course.
But let's get to the interesting aspects of Terror Train 2 is you have a real life magician playing a magician in the
Magician,
film,
yeah.
David Copperfield, which is just a brilliantly added touch.
Oh,
That just sets
yeah.
the film way, because he's actually good in it.
Yeah.
He's really creepy, and you almost at some point think Kenny's the killer, but at some point you're second get is because they make it look like Copperfield could possibly be the killer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they do that. Yeah, because they do that a lot in movies too, where it's like the person who's coming to seek revenge. It's like they're not just back as themselves. It's like they've made like a complete transformation. You know, worked out or got better looking, and whatever it was that they did, or maybe even gotten plastic surgery to look different so no one would know it's them. So like that's already in your mind. It's like, wait, maybe it's him. Maybe he just finally came out of his shell after 3 years and like is a better looking guy, and now he knows magic. And it's like just to like keep people's minds off of what's really happening, because there's all these like really cool illusions.
Yeah, and I mean, he did some real magic in there, which was pretty rad. You know what I mean? Like as you're watching it.
See, like that's the other thing that I wanted to mention too, because he's an actual magician. Do you think that like during that scene, because like when you're filming a movie, obviously you can do cuts and retakes and all that stuff.
Right.
Do you think that he actually did those illusions while he was filming, or do you think they cut it every once in a while?
No, I think he did them. He was the best.
So?
He was the world's best magician at that time.
I mean, he did make the Statue of Liberty disappear at point. So
he was a master sleight of hand. So those sleight of hand tricks were Simple Simon to him.
Right.
I mean, I've watched him before. I'm into magic. I met Ricky Jay.
Yeah,
Ricky Jay is one of my idols. Ricky Jay, the 52 pickup, the man with 1,000 hand.
Right.
He was the best sleight of hand guy in the world, Ricky Jay.
And dude, it's funny. I know it's kind of a tangent, but it's wild that like someone like David Copperfield, like there was a time, like in entertainment, in like television entertainment, where a magician's act was an event on TV, and David Copperfield was just that.
He was an on TV magician, so exactly. It was brilliant to get him. So he was a name.
Exactly. And it's like you would gather around the TV to watch him like you would like an award show. It's like, hey, the Oscars are on tonight. It's like, hey, David Copperfield's doing a show on Channel 5 tonight. It's like, cool, man,
Right.
So it's just, it just
so
goes
to
to
get
show
him
you.
was novelty.
Yeah. So it's like, it just goes to show you like how big of an act he was, how big of a, person, celebrity, I guess you'd say, just being in this movie. I always find it like wild when you get like big celebrities in movies like this.
And he could act.
Yeah, because I mean
he wasn't bad.
Yeah, he didn't really have to do much. He just had to act like he just had to be like soft spoken for the most part, but
mysterious
and creepy.
Yeah, mysterious.
Yeah,
like a magician.
Exactly, mysterious, but also like creepy, because you probably wouldn't, like, anybody on that train probably wouldn't have pegged him as creepy. But we as the viewers would, because we know what's going on. It's like, wait, is that him? So it's like any movement that he makes, like, because like he just always had this like stare, like when he's talking to
very mystique, like a magician,
exactly.
Very, it's everything's an act, everything's an illusion.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
But we have to get to the question now, which we could answer later on, but. It's a train, so you can see everybody pretty much in your peripheral. Where was this kid this young man hiding, Kenny? Where, like, I know he was in costumes up, but when they finally catch on to, okay, she looks in the yearbook, she goes, oh my God, I know who it is now. It's Kenny. When Elena just figures it out and they do a mass search, there's only so many places that he could hide up in one of the bunkers, so they don't find him. But we know why.
Right.
Spoiler. But you never see that coming.
No. I mean, I didn't see it coming, but I questioned the assistant when I first saw her. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. It was the 80s. Everybody looked weird, so, but, spoiler alert,
but we didn't. It's a brilliant reveal. I didn't really notice it until eventually.
I didn't realize that was him in the wig and in the dress as the magician's assistant.
Right.
But something just seemed off about her. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's up with this? What's up with this woman? Like, you could kind of hear it in the voice too, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like,
you could see it. He looks like Kenny. You could see it when you look at the face.
Right, but even beforehand, like, and I'm not saying like, I knew it all along. No, it just like something didn't sit right while I'm watching this woman. I'm like, all right, that kind of looks like a wig. Her voice is kind of weird, but the thing is too, though, we talk about how at the beginning when he killed Eduardo when took his costume and all that stuff, but it's like part of me is like, okay, so why would he kill him, take his costume, put his costume on just to get on the train if he could have just been on the train as the assistant? You know what I mean? Like after the fact.
Well, I think because eventually, if he stayed in that costume, they would have wanted him to take it off or question him because all the time they're thinking it's Eddie, you know. So eventually they're going to call him out on it or like kind of, you know what I mean? He's at some point, you know what I mean? Like everybody take their, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when he slid into as the assistant, he was safe. Nobody was questioning that. They just thought it was the magician's assistant.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nobody had any kind of, you know, but when he did the killings, he did it under the costumes, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, his first his first victim was Eduardo, and the second was Jackson, right?
Jackson,
In the
yep, in the
lizard
bathroom.
costume, and it's wild that the conductor he goes in the bathroom, sees Jackson dead on the floor, blood.
It doesn't call, yeah, it doesn't call the authorities right away. I question
Yeah.
that too.
Well, but that's the thing, though. He couldn't though because at the beginning, remember, it was established that they don't have a radio
Radio,
to
right?
call for help. They're like, oh well, it's just a novelty train.
But
Who
he
you
doesn't seem that freaked out. For somebody who just
that was
saw a
the
dead
thing too,
body.
man. He did not seem freaked. Yeah, he did not seem freaked
Yeah,
out. And I'm sitting there, I'm like,
yeah,
you know, I don't know if this
a
guy
little too
sees.
calm.
Yeah, I don't know if this guy sees this all the time.
A regular, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it if you're, if you're a conductor, you're on a train, the train hits somebody. I get it that you're gonna uh, be used to seeing dead bodies that way. Doesn't happen
Right.
that often, but it does happen, especially with like animals and stuff. So maybe he could have been a little bit numb to it, because of like dead animals and all that kind of stuff like on the
A little
train.
different though. But his
No,
reaction was
it's
just like,
absolutely different. I mean, like there's a
what do you
huge
say?
difference. I've seen look,
Oh
I've
my
seen
God.
yeah, I've seen dead animals on the tracks. You get a different feeling, like just a different feeling from seeing like, a dead squirrel or a dead skunk versus a dead dog. You know what I mean? Just from that. But obviously, seeing a dead human it's gonna affect you differently. But just the fact that he barely reacted to it. He's like, oh, just another dead kid. All right, we got to find out.
Well, I mean, he went back and he told the other conductor, he's like, the way he said it nonchalant, he's like, there's a dead boy in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's like monotone.
Well, dude, I felt like everybody was kind of nonchalant because even when Doc was asking Alana where Mitchie was, it's like, where's Mitchie? She's dead. And he just starts screaming her name, but like the way the way she just said, "Oh, she's dead." It's not like, "Hey Doc, look, I got to tell you, I was looking for Mitchie myself and I found her in her bunk and she's dead." It was just like, "Where's Mitchie?" "She's dead." "Mitchie!" It was like,
Yeah.
It felt like cold, but like at the same time, though, it's like, was she that cold with him for a reason? It's like, that's her best friend, but she can't stand this guy. It's like, all right, I'm going to stab him in the heart right now. Oh, your girlfriend's dead.
Yeah, I think they were just in shock. That's how you act sometimes when you're in shock. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Yeah,
it's weird.
Well, I mean, dude, it's like with the conductor when he came upon Jackson, like that just kind of, I was just like, even when he found Mitchie dead, he's just like, all right,
yeah,
another dead body.
Maybe he was in the war or something.
That would make sense.
Veteran,
you know what?
A veteran.
Yeah,
No, he was old enough.
1980, that old. Yeah, he could have been in Nam. Yeah.
I mean, but he was definitely a valuable though, like caretaker for the group though. Like he did the best he could. You know what I mean? That main conductor.
Oh yeah.
But however, this is another where you have to kind of, we're getting into the suspend disbelief moments now for the when they get everybody off the train, they finally get the train to stop, right? When he gets everybody off, and it's like, oh, excuse me, it's like 50 below, right? Dead of winter.
Right.
They're going to freeze to death. I understand that. But what does he do? He puts them all back in the train. Wouldn't you try to get a hold of a phone or somebody, authorities, and get authorities by the carloads, and if there's a killer on a train, and bring them to
Yeah.
the road.
No, that's
It's
true.
like he puts them back on the train where there's a killer on there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
But that's the thing though. Where did they stop though? They weren't like near a station or anything. They weren't near like
yeah, they had no means. There's no obviously nothing back
yeah.
then.
So it's like
So
they would have had to like walk through whatever was around them to
true.
get to the street, you know? So it's like the only thing it's like you're gonna just stand outside there. It's like with no help, no means of finding help. The only way they were able to communicate was on the train. They had like those little phones or whatever, those phones on the train, and that's just to call from one car to the next. They couldn't
Yeah.
call for actual help. And it's like I said, it was established in the beginning. And it's like as soon as he says that, it's like, yeah, I've been trying to get radios on this train to, in case something happens. It's like, what
Yeah.
if one of these kids gets drunk and falls off the train? And it's
Yeah.
like, it's like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like if you didn't know what the movie was about, if you didn't see like if they didn't show any opening credits, once it's like if you started the movie right there where he says, I've been trying to get a radio on this train for about 2 years. I've been talking to them about it. They said they won't do it because we're just a novelty, we're just an excursion. And if somebody falls and dies, and that's like if you just started the movie right there, you'd be like, okay, something bad's gonna happen. This guy is saying this because something's gonna happen and he's not gonna be able to get help. So from that point on, and then you start seeing people dying, you're like, okay, I get it.
But you would think they'd have technology at that point to have like kind of a road or some kind of phone on there to get to the outside world. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? At that point, it's not 1960.
no,
It's
true.
1980. They have the trains built. Computers were out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but not
just
not on a steam engine. And I think when it comes to doing those kinds of novelty excursions, you want to keep it as authentic as possible. And plus, they also said that like they denied them having a radio because it's like, dude, this is just for fun. Like, what's going to happen? Like, people are going to sit down, they're going to sleep in their bunks. They're not going to do anything except enjoy the ride for what it is. Like, why would somebody jump off? Why would you need an emergency? You're just riding a train.
well, somebody could have a heart attack, a massive heart attack on
No,
there or something.
that's
You know
true.
what I mean?
That's true. But
Yeah. No, you
it's
always
just
want to have safety, but it's just one of those things. It's
yeah. But it was also
suspension of disbelief.
exactly, and it was also the '80s, and it's like stuff like that. Like you didn't even care about. It's like you look at that train versus like an electric train now. It's like there's electricity everywhere.
Oh yeah,
It's like all the conductors and the engineer
right.
they all have their own radio.
Yeah,
There's always a way to call for help and
I
something.
think conductors even have to be CPR trained and
Oh yeah,
trained like that and stuff. Like
well,
EMT train.
right, yeah, and
For those reasons.
exactly, and like they all have to know the territory that they're riding their trains on. It's like so
Yeah,
it's like over there.
it's like a murder. It's like an Orient Express train,
Yeah,
basically.
I mean
What we're dealing with.
exactly, and it's like knowing who the killer is from the beginning, knowing who's going to be the one seeking revenge from the beginning. You just kind of it's like Columbo. I always mention Columbo because I love Columbo, but it's like with Columbo was like that type of show where you see the killer at the beginning of the show. You know who the killer is the whole time. It's just seeing it all pieced together, seeing how
Right, right,
people
right, right.
put everything together and figure
Yes,
out who the killer is.
true.
You know,
Yeah,
they don't, and it's like, okay, let's see how you figure this out.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, but that's another unique point about Terror Train is that all the other slashers was a who done it.
Mhm.
You had to figure it out. Um, obviously Friday the 13th, the original being the biggest reveal, shocking reveal
Yeah,
of all,
yeah.
but this was not influenced by that. That's another unique point
Well,
is
yeah.
that it was a lot different than Friday the 13th, whereas a lot of the other ones were
Well, it also
kind of remakes.
yeah, it also came out the same year, so it's not like they
Right.
could be like, all right,
True.
because and back then I feel like it took longer to make movies. It's like you'd know about a movie that's coming out, and it's like they'd be like, yeah, it took us 3 years to film this
Well,
movie.
this was also theatrically released. It's a 20th century film.
Right? Yeah.
It was a major theatrical release. It didn't do well in the box office, but it did very well in the vid store culture,
Oh, yeah.
VHS rental. It became a cult classic, rented
Well, yeah,
highly.
dude. A lot of those slasher movies are making like a huge revival now. Like, it's not so
Well,
much that
this is a
it's
classic.
yeah, it's not so much that it's a revival. It's just that everybody loves these movies and loved them for so long. It's just people are talking about them more now. Because like back in the day, it's like you would have to talk to somebody to know that they like those movies. You know, it's like you're online waiting to see Friday the 13th final chapter, let's say, and you're like, oh yeah, did you see the first two? Oh yeah, you know, it's like now this is somebody in your town that you know loves this movie. Now that the internet's a thing, it's like you find out everybody who loves this movie. You know, it's like, dude, Halloween 3, people don't people don't love that movie until the internet came out and you found out that so many people do. So it's like
Well, you
this.
got to remember, this came out at a time when slasher film was a new thing. This was a new genre being born
Yeah.
through Halloween and Friday the 13th. And I mean, if you want to really, really go back, Black Christmas, but
Absolutely.
that was underground. You know, major releases were Friday the 13th and Terror Train. These were films that were in the theater. Halloween was a pretty big budget film for a slasher film. Um, so it was just becoming its own. And there was tons after it. But in the pinnacles of slasher films, is Terror Train the greatest? No. But I believe it's a pinnacle. I believe it's a quintessential and it's essential class slasher film that everyone should see because it's unique and it influenced other slasher films after it, which I could name. I mean, it's one of the first nerdy, unpopular, socially awkward person that gets bullied or pranked on by the alpha males and then seeks revenge after. You had like, Slaughter High, majorly influenced by Terror Train. Absolutely. Similar, almost a similar plot,
Hmm.
you know. So I think it deserves that. I think it deserves its mark in slasher film history because it is a quintessential slasher film by slasher film standards and technical definition. 100%.
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely is a unique film, especially since because it was at the forefront of the slasher movement back when ideas were new. You know, it's like you had you had the Halloween movies, you had Friday the 13th, you know, you had Michael, Jason, whatever, and it's like that became what what the slasher movie was a masked killer and dozens of sequels, you know, tons of sequels and all that, but it's like this was a standalone movie, you know. This was just like you said, a dude coming back for revenge after being bullied when he was younger, you know, 3 years earlier. Finally comes back to seek revenge. Now, revenge wasn't a new thing in movies period at the time, but when you take that element and you put it in the slasher genre, it's like you got a lot of movies like that. I mean, obviously, Friday the 13th came out the same year. It was a revenge movie. Woman
It's the
seeking revenge.
main element of the slasher genre,
Yeah.
but not all of it.
No.
Like Halloween wasn't Michael Myers wasn't coming
He
back
was
for
just
revenge.
yeah, he was just
Um, he was just a killer. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Friday the 13th really set that trend. Even Black Christmas, Billy in the Basement, that was not a revenge thing. He was just a psychopath stalking women.
Yep.
Um, so it wasn't always, but that was a main topic that's when people followed suit from Friday the 13th. And how Friday the 13th got that was from the Giallo Italian films because those were always
Right.
revenge seeking.
Yep.
Um,
Very
they were killing for an inheritance that they didn't get or
right.
money it was something they were ripped off of that they were coming back to seek revenge. That's where Sean Cunningham got the idea for Friday the 13th and put it in the woods and and blah, blah, the rest is history. But
Of course.
so it wasn't always, but yeah, that's the main. thing. And then you had some weird ones in the 80s that were like there was no motives. There's a few of them, like Final Exit, where it's just a killer.
Dude,
Just
Slumber Party Massacre, like
yeah,
Party Massacre was just a dude with a drill.
guy just liked killing women.
Yeah,
I mean, with a drill.
exactly. He was weird too, man. But
You know,
obviously, that would be a discussion for another time. But like
but
that was a wild one.
yeah, you cannot deny the uniqueness of Terror Train. I'll argue this with anyone. Um, it just the psychological depth that it delves into is really sets it above. You know what I mean? And like I know it's a slasher film. It's not supposed to be intellectual or a thriller or some kind of criterion film or something. But for the time and the resources and the society at the time for somebody a writer to write something like this and direct and put it out takes a lot of balls.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. And it's like we talk about this all the time. It's like early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, even throughout the 80s, it was a lot of these were brand new ideas. It's like okay, you take like the idea of a Jalo movie or just a slasher, a killer. It's like let's put him on a train. It's like all right, well, why is he there? It's like okay, well, he's seeking revenge. All right, revenge for what? It was still an original idea because there were no other slasher movies that were like on the train,
Right.
and it's
Exactly.
like, and that's where like everything just really blew up because again we talk about your favorite My Bloody Valentine, my favorite Silent Night Deadly Night. It's like okay, you had Black Christmas on as a Christmas movie, but it's like we got another one and this is his story, and it's like all these ideas were brand new, and it's like everything is just being remade now. Everything is just redone and just rehashed and just regurgitated, and it's like take me
Well,
back. It's like you want
I
to go
mean,
back to that time where like people just have brand new ideas, and it's like like you said, it's a unique idea. It was brand new at the time. No one expected something like that.
no, I mean, but the suspense buildup remains, and that's the most important. Is you know who the killer is, you know what's going on, but you don't know when he's going to strike, what costume he's in. It's still maintained the suspense elements, all while we know who the killer is, which is a hard trick to pull off. That's a hard rabbit to pull out of the hat. And this film did it, you know, because so much of these films rely on the mystery aspect of who is it.
Right.
We could lead you this way. Could it be this person? Could it be this person? You got to figure it out. It's almost has detective elements. Terror Train kind of took that out, but it compensated with the atmosphere and the cinematography. It's more probably the greatest cinematography in a slasher film ever. We didn't even dive into that. I mean, just talk about the shadowy aspects of it, the way it was filmed, the train going by, the smoke, the just the chill in the air, the shadowy kind of it's influenced off of Halloween a lot in that aspect. Though you could tell he took a lot from Halloween with the way it was filmed. Absolutely. So I mean, it has that which compensates for it. You know what I mean? And you don't need the massive amount of kills like movies out today, which we won't mention, Giuseppe, right? With lots of
Oh
gore
yeah.
and no storyline.
Right.
See the difference?
Yeah, and see, like that's kind of what I was getting at when I'm talking about
You
like,
know,
taking an old idea and trying to make it new, and it doesn't work. I mean, like I'm a fan of it, but like to an extent, but I know what it is that I'm watching. I know I'm never gonna get a new idea, a new story like Terror Train, like My Bloody Valentine, like Friday the 13th. It's just like even when Scream came out, it was 10 years after this whole
yeah.
golden era of slasher movies, but it was still a good movie. You know what I mean? Because
Wes
all
Craven.
right, yeah, it's like all right, we're gonna keep this going. The Hatchet movies, it's like, but it's like after that, it's
Oh,
just kind of it's like you
it's
look
hard now. But
exactly
I mean, we'll just say we'll take like okay, here's an example, right?
okay.
Terrifier, big phenomenon now, right? Praise, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, answer me. How many times can you watch that? What is the replay value? You're not going to go back to that ever again.
I
Not like Halloween or Friday the 13th or Terror Train where you can put it on and you're still like, wow, entertain. You know what I mean? Like, there's a
well,
difference.
all right. So like if we're gonna if we're gonna talk about this just for a minute, if we're gonna talk about Terrifier, yeah, the first one I watched a few times. Because like
Really?
because when I first saw it, it was like it wasn't like the slashers that we grew up with, but there were some elements to it that reminded me of it. One of the things that I found to be kind of unique about the character Art the Clown is, when you watch these movies from the 80s, you watch these slasher movies from the 80s, and you know someone's running away from the killer, hides behind like a rock or behind a tree or whatever. Next thing they know, they're right behind them. You don't see where he came from. You don't see where he jumps out from. The one thing that I thought was interesting about Art the Clown was you see his every move. Girls are hiding behind the car. You see him creeping up around her. You see his feet under the car. You see him walking around. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little different.
Mm.
I found that interesting because it wasn't just, pop up jump scare. I like the look of him. I think he, as far as like clowns go, that's a cool look. Like the whole like Pagliacci thing going on there. You know,
I
the
disagree in all aspects,
oh
but
no,
that's all right.
and that's fine, dude. Like, I mean, listen,
I
I'm
do.
not. I mean, look, part two, because it was such a long wait for it. It was big. It was big for me because I really liked the first one. I didn't expect the story, but like the thing with part two is what was like they teased at a story. And it's like, okay, so part three, we're going to get something. Part three, you really didn't get something. And that's one of the things that fell short for me. Part three, wasn't that big of a fan of, wasn't as fun as the second one. I guess maybe because the anticipation for it wasn't there. I
Mm.
mean, but and I've mentioned this to you before. Again, I know we're, I know we're going off on a tangent here, because, we're comparing today's slasher versus yesterday's slasher
I don't even consider that a slasher. I
and
mean,
that's,
to me,
well,
I
I
don't
mean,
want to bash anything, but all right, to the viewer, I don't like Terrifier.
and that's fine.
I don't understand what
I,
the hype is on it.
I will say you got the guys who did the guys who worked on Terrifier 2 and 3 did their own movie, like the Levy brothers. They did a movie called Stream. David Howard Thornton was in it. He plays Art the Clown, and a lot
It's
of the
probably
people,
better.
dude, it wasn't a brand new idea. You know what I mean? It's like something, where like people are sent out to like, kill, and they bet on it and all that stuff. And it's not a new idea. It's just a new take on it. And it was a fun flick, dude. I felt it the second I walked out of that theater. I'm like, yo, Jeffrey Combs was that movie. If you get a chance to watch that movie, Jeffrey Combs was fantastic in it.
Mm.
Love Jeffrey
Well,
Combs. First of all,
here's, oh yeah.
in that movie, he was phenomenal. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the difference. Okay, you got now, right, within the last 15 years, we're up to 2025. You have how horror has become widely popular. We all know this, hugely popular. About time, right? Where you have so many sublet genres of horror in itself. You got to think back into the 1980s. There wasn't. There was Universal Monsters of the 60s, in the 70s,
Right.
and then you had the human horror aspect when Black Christmas came out, and that's why it's considered the first slashers because it was the first human killer. Well, you had like Psycho and Peeping
Psycho.
Tom too, and Peeping Tom from Michael from Powell. Um, those years, which tinged on it, but not everybody's a film geek like us. They don't know that, stuff. So, I mean, everybody knows Psycho, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then, Halloween came and just blew it up, got the spark going of a human killer. And that's what sparked the slasher genre. And then, like, Friday the 13th just took it way over the edge. But that was all there was. There was like universal horror and then human psychopath slashers
Yeah.
stalking people and slash and stalk, right? Stalk and slash, rather.
Right, right.
But now, think about it. In the past, you have what? You have paranormal horror. You have uh, lost footage, found footage rather horror. You have situational horror where people are stuck in a situation they got to get out of. You have home invasion horror. You didn't, I mean, you
Possession,
didn't have
demon
all
possession.
that stuff, right? So
Storm.
you got
Yeah,
like so much,
right.
like where people got to play games to survive. There was stuff like that going on, but it was like one-off films, like like the world's most dangerous game,
Yeah.
in the '60s. You had like them, which was a home invasion film in the '70s, and they, but it wasn't like a genre. Now all these are genres.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you have all of this spread stuff. So like Terror Train was unique in itself in that time period, 100%. Now you have all these different things to choose from. You could pick up and watch a home invasion flick. There's millions of them, or a deadly game flick. There's millions of them.
Another one of
You
my
know,
favorites is the zombie movies. I love zombie movies,
yeah,
especially the Romero stuff. And
that's been around forever. Yeah.
exactly, and it's like that was always fun for me. I like Dawn of the Dead, favorite, possibly my favorite horror movie of all time.
Hmm. It's a classic. I mean, I'm an offbeat guy. I like those rare like mind. I love Night of the Comet, which some people are
Oh,
gonna know, some people aren't gonna know.
right, yeah, yeah, of course,
But I love that I love that film.
yeah,
Valley Girls and truck drivers and zombies. It's just it's the ultimate cult film. You know.
right.
Um, I even have the Videoscope magazine cover framed of that issue where they cover the whole film. I mean, I just love that film. I used to watch it with my mother. She loved it. It's got Maloney in it, and I've always had a crush on her. And it's got what's her name there, Catherine Marie Stewart or whatever,
Okay, I think I.
as the main, the two Valley Girl sisters.
Mhm.
Both cool. It's got great one-liners, and I've always loved it as a kid. Um, but yeah, I mean, like it was minimal back then, 1980, and like I said, for them to put the victims on a train where it's inescapable, have the killer shapeshift into different costumes, gender bending, which was unheard of back then.
Right.
And the characters actually have lives, have stories, what they're doing, you know, it's just so unique. I mean, and like even Jamie Lee Curtis,
Yeah.
she's actually likable. You want her to survive. Whereas you watch a horror film nowadays, a modern slasher, you want all them annoying you want them people, you want them kids dead as quick as possible. You're rooting for the killer.
Yeah, even the person that's supposed to be, even the person that you're supposed to love, that you're supposed to want to survive, you're just like, oh my God, can you get rid of this person, please? You know?
Well, I know you haven't seen them, but to Tira Train's testament, right, on his popularity over the years, which I'm happy about. I own the T-shirt. It's the greatest cover. The conductor,
Oh,
Kenny
absolutely.
with the knife,
Yeah.
with the Groucho guy. They did, and I was surprised to actually make remakes. They made a remake, and then they made a part two of the remake.
Right.
They were not good. They
Oh,
were
I'm
not
sure
good.
they weren't,
They
dude.
were entertaining popcorn film, but nothing like the original story, obviously. And there was a lot of wokeness going on in there, like unnecessary wokeness. That's just like absurdly ridiculous.
Oh, dude, I mean, there are certain movies that I've seen the original of and know that there were remakes for that I just had no interest at all in seeing. It's like you got I Spit on Your Grave, but then they did a remake of it with two sequels. I think there was a part 3 also. There was that. There was like yeah, exactly. And it's like yo,
Yeah,
because like when you watch the originals of these movies, like it's like Terror Train, I Spit on Your Grave, Friday the 13th, which I actually did like the remake, but we won't get into that because I don't want to get but
Jason living in a bunker, running around.
yes, exactly, man.
No,
It's like I
no,
don't but um
no.
but thing is, it's like the way it was filmed, the time it was filmed, with actual film. You know, there's a difference when you sit in a theater and you're watching a movie that was filmed on actual film versus digital. You know, it's like you see like the little pops here and there, the little hairs that fly up on the screen, but
Mhm.
it's also a lot darker. You know, like
Yep.
everything is grimy, everything's dirty. But nowadays it's like everything is so polished.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it looks pretty,
And
and it's
the
like, yeah,
actors are models.
exactly. And it's like, look, it's really nice to see each and every single one of the blackheads on your nose with this 4K high definition video, but it was like the grimy look of those older movies. Like you didn't realize how important that was to a movie like that until
Mm.
you rewatched it now versus a movie that comes out now, you know?
Well, I don't know who the cinematographer was on Terror Train, to be honest, but whoever it was did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It is just top notch. The cinematography and the mood and the atmosphere of that film is very mysterious. It goes right along with the story plot, and you're taking them for a ride. Yeah, it's a little bit of a slow burn. The stuff doesn't start moving till like the third act when the Kenny's reveal, which is a great reveal when he's sitting there and dressed in the conductor's outfit and they're at the table. Let's talk about that scene where Jamie Lee Curtis, Elena,
Yeah.
is going up to him, touches his hands, and says, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I ran into you, conductor." And he looks up and he goes, and it's Kenny. And that line, like he didn't know how to whip up a woman. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it just sent chills up my like when he said that line, it's like, oh shit's going down
Well,
now.
yeah,
He's gonna start running after and
because what did he take the hat off and or the mask off and he had the wig on still. And then she's, you just kind of look at it
yeah,
like, what did, like her, and then all of a sudden he takes the wig off and it's like, oh, okay. It was like a double
yeah,
reveal,
yeah.
so that was interesting. But one of the things that you and I were like mentioning, it's like, now you say that this movie like could have potentially, or possibly I should say, influenced other movies. Like, what, I'm trying to think of some of them. I can think of one in particular. I just don't know how many you think that it could, like, any aspects of this movie that could have influenced other movies.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, what I mean by influence is just the storyline and the
Okay.
way it was like, you know what I mean? Like Tear Train's just unique.
Yeah.
It's but I believe the director of Slaughter High, which is one of the most influenced by it for sure,
Okay.
watched Terror Train and studied that plot. It's basically a similar plot, but in a high school, not on a train. Definitely, and that came out after Terror Train, way after. Um, I mean, is it influential in the aspect of Friday the 13th? No, absolutely
No.
not. They came out, but nothing is.
Right.
Friday the 13th, that was the OG, you know. And I know people, listeners are gonna say, no, Halloween, but I'm talking about that kind of style of slasher.
Yeah.
Halloween was a lot different than Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Friday the 13th, you got Madman, you got The Burning from, you got those from. We know this, not from Terror Train.
Right.
But I do believe that it set off an example and an influence of having the nerdy guy, because there was none before that really. Halloween wasn't about a nerdy guy and the popular kids bullying him. Um, Even Friday the 13th really wasn't about that. So that was really the first I can think of because it was 1980. Slasher films had just come in 2 years prior. Um, that had that aspect, that had that storyline, that was in the forefront in the theaters. And then the others came after, like you know, High Return to Horror High, Student Bodies. Those all had the same kind of similar pieces. Is another one had a similar theme to that kind of thing.
Right. See, I would definitely say Sleepaway Camp. I would say Sleepaway Camp had some kind of influence from this
Oh
movie.
yeah, I see. I forgot that.
Yeah,
See, I
see,
can't think. Yeah, absolutely.
first of all, because of like the whole bullying aspect, Angela
Yeah.
was bullied by all these guys and sought revenge. I mean, you don't find out that it's her until the end that she sought
Hmm.
revenge for her being bullied. But on top of the bullying aspect of it, she was a boy.
Yeah.
She's a boy, you know what I mean? You find out that Kenny was the female assistant the whole time. Find out that Angela was the boy,
Right.
that it was, wasn't the brother who died in the beginning. I mean, it was the brother who died in the beginning. Sorry, it wasn't the brother who died in the beginning.
Right. Shout out to Sleepaway Camp. I forgot all about you. One of
Absolutely,
my
man.
favorites.
Yeah, mine too, man. You know that, bro.
But yeah, I completely forgot. Yeah, that's probably the most influenced by it for sure.
But in
And
the same
then,
respect, you could say it was also influenced by Friday the 13th because it was a camp slasher.
yeah,
So it's like the best of like all best of both worlds right there.
these films were new. They were new
Yeah.
at that time. They're classics now, but they were new. And nobody had ever seen anything like this. When Terror Train premiered in the theaters and had the trailer and everything, I saw years after when I was a kid on cable. People already knew about it. But think about like the opening night. This was not going on in America at this point. It was coming off of the 70s character centered films in the horror monster universe. This stuff wasn't going on here in America. A human killer killing people, psychopath. Like, no, they were
Right.
like, oh my
True.
God.
But just
You know what I mean?
what, like 7 years earlier, they got The Exorcist. Not a slasher flick, obviously, but a classic.
Oh, well, of
It's
course.
like
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
going from that, from demon possession to just
Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, which is a grindhouse, that was psychological depth too. That was
absolutely.
totally psychological and
Absolutely.
slasher,
Yeah, because
you
it's
know.
like it gives you the idea, like, just don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody. The guy at the gas station,
Yeah.
he's not here to help you.
No, it was out there. It just wasn't prevalent, like popular or known yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you had to been into like that was an underground like I think it got banned. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. People were throwing up in the
yeah.
theaters and
People,
stuff. It was great.
yeah, people were
You
throwing
know,
up in the theater, running out of the theater, just scared. Just
yeah.
with them.
All of those were scary. Even Black Christmas was scary as shit. I mean, like with the phone calls and everything. I
Yeah,
mean, for
yeah,
that time period, it makes me wonder. It's funny. Like kids today, they would laugh at this stuff. You know this, Giuseppe. Like if you showed Terror Train to snotty fucking like a 19-year-old kid today, he would laugh at it. Of course, it's
well,
not his. It's not his time. It was our time. You know what I mean?
yeah, because everything,
It
everything
doesn't
back,
hold up.
everything back then was
It's got
done
to be more gorier. It doesn't
exactly.
hold up. It's too slow. There's not enough people dying.
Everything back then was practical. Everything back then, somebody made it with their hands. The blood, the exploding heads, whatever it was done by somebody's hands, not by a computer program. And it's crazy because from what I understand, it doesn't even it costs more to do all that CGI stuff than it does to make things practically. And the thing about practical effects,
You don't have the talent now.
right? Yeah, exactly. Because nobody needs to do it. I mean, like
Mhm.
we still got Greg Nicotero, Tom Savini.
We got Neal.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Savini, one of the king. You know what I mean? The master. It's he has a school where his students are the ones doing his work now because I know he said that they said there was something wrong with his hands. Like I don't know the specifics of it, but like obviously he's getting older, and it's like hey, I'm going to teach you to do what I did, and it's like,
Practicals are always scarier.
yeah,
It's always
absolutely.
creepier and scarier. But I'm talking about the young youth now.
Yeah.
No offense to the viewer. But they're even beyond that. They don't. The storyline is not going to hold them. It's not enough. There's not enough action. There's not enough to hold their. You got to remember these were stories. Like 1980, it was like you were watching a story unfold.
Yeah.
Somebody was killing, you know what I mean? But like that's why stuff like is pop is because it's massively sensation. It's sensation through the whole film. It's constant jolts of hair, jolts of drugs. You know, boom, boom, boom. There's no thinking. There's no build up. There's no suspense. That's not what majority wants today. They just want to see mauling, killing, gore, and slash, and just you know what I mean. Death,
Yeah,
massive killings.
but I see
That's
it. But
why.
yeah, but I also see what could happen is, you know, the way you and I discovered movies from before our time, the way we discover music from before our time, there is going to be a generation of kids who are going to find these things because you're going to have guys like us, people our age, who have those kids who came from that time. You're like, let me show you this movie. See, like, I remember playing, you know, the remake of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was the Tim Burton one. Kids loved it. Then I tried playing them the original, and it's like they couldn't get into it because their mind was already on the one that they saw. If they had seen, you know, the Gene Wilder one first, they probably would have loved that. And when they saw the Johnny Depp one, they probably would have been like, "What is this?" Like kind of like the way we look at it. But
You think so? Yeah.
I maybe you know, I feel like whatever you grow up with or whatever you're shown first, it's going to be what you're into. Because if you show somebody all old movies from the excuse me, from the moment they start watching movies, from the moment they can remember watching movies, if you show them the old movies, that's what they're going to grow up with. That's what they're going to understand. They're going to understand the buildup of a storyline. They're going to understand what a slow burn is and learn to appreciate learn to appreciate the outcome rather than boom, boom, boom. First 5 minutes, first kill. First, you know, next 5 minutes, first sex scene. For, you know, next 5 minutes. You know, it's because people nowadays want everything just right. Everything right now. You know, it's like when I'm looking something up on my phone and it doesn't load up immediately. You know what's going on. You know, it's like listen, I'm guilty of it too, but I still appreciate those movies, the slow burns. You know, like Exorcist. Exorcist was
No, I just think they're gonna think they're cheesy. They're gonna think it's cheesy.
Of course
You
they
know what
do.
I
I
mean?
mean, listen,
It's outdated.
yeah, but I mean, like I mentioned Exorcist, okay? That movie scared the hell out of me since I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like dude, it took me years to actually sit down and watch. Like from the time I was like 5 years old, you know, like my aunt locked me in a room with the with a playing in the basement with my brother. He's sitting there watching it. I'm like trying to find a place to hide. Then when I was like 10 years old, ran out of the room the second she got possessed. Then when I was like 12, my friend's like, "Hey, let's watch The Exorcist." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I'll watch it. Let me call my dad to see if it's okay." Sorry, my dad says no. So, then by the time I was like 15, I finally sat down with my buddy and watched it. Still scary, still, you know. Then around the time I was like 20, 21, they released that director's cut, you know, the version you've never seen before, where they put in all the stuff that I'm watching it and I'm scared to death. I'm sitting there with my brother. We're watching it in the theater in the city, and people around us are laughing. I'm like, it's like, okay, it might not be scary to you, but don't laugh. You know what I mean? It's like you're taking away a lot of what this movie did, what this movie accomplished cinematically. You know,
I thought
because
it was a great movie, but it wasn't that scary to me, to be honest.
dude,
Just for me, it wasn't. I mean, it was a great film, like filmmaking wise. It was brilliant. Yeah, like
yeah,
the actual story. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There
I
were
mean,
scary moments, but
there was just
the
something about her face, the voice,
yeah, no, I get it.
especially knowing that the voice was an actual person. You know, it was a person in the next, you know, with a
How
microphone. You know,
that could happen is scary as shit.
yeah.
Yeah. But I could sit through it and be like, I know that's fake. I know she's not really
Oh, I
possessed.
mean,
It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like what the movie that the two movies that freaked me out as a kid. When I finally saw the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it scared the shit out of me.
okay.
Like this depraved family, like this, you know what I mean? Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what if they're driving and you come across, you know, just like the screams, the close-up camera on Marilyn Burns when she's screaming, and then she jumps out the window. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Well,
but The Shining scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. The Shining
yeah,
freaked me out.
yeah.
Yeah.
That. Yeah, dude, that both fantastic movies. I mean, a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's like if you're driving on the highway at night and you know it's dark, all you got are like the you know the lights that light the highway, the street lights, what have you. But you're driving along like brush, you know, there's trees on either side of you, and it's like at night, it's like you know anything could jump out at any moment. Texas Chainsaw Massacre made me feel the same way during the day because of that
Mm,
whole scene when he's you know he's running after her in
mm.
the daylight. She jumps in the truck and all that stuff. The guy comes out of the big truck. He sees him with the chainsaw. He's like, nope. Gets back in the
Yeah,
truck and he's out of there. Like that was one of the funniest things. He's like, ah! He just runs away. You know, that's
I got 10
what?
on my phone
All right, so
because
we
it
can.
burns it up.
Okay, so listen, we're gonna. So let's bring this to a close. Do you go ahead? I was gonna ask you if you had
No,
anything.
no, go ahead.
If there's anything that you want to promote, like any, you know, because I know you got a lot of stuff out there on podcasts.
No, I mean,
I mean,
I do my Church of Tarantino podcast guest spots. There's more going to be coming in October, where we talk about Tarantino stuff. If you're a Tarantino geek, check it out on all the you know, um,
dude,
the major.
I'm not even that big of a Tarantino geek. Like I like Tarantino, but like
No,
I love listening to that podcast.
yeah.
I just love listening to people talk about it, even though I don't know a lot of what they're talking about. I mean, I know his movies, obviously, but I like listening to
So
people.
I'm gonna probably be on a couple episodes of that talking about something Tarantino wise, and then probably September I'm filming for Cult Worthy podcast, which is all cult films, and we're most likely going to be doing Judgment Night, which I absolutely love. So we're going to break that down. Yeah, so those guys do a great podcast too. And then probably just other guest spots as they come. And my top 10 films, go over there, check that website out. Just, you know, top10films.co.uk. And you can check out my columns there. Um, you
Sounds
know,
good, dude.
but I will say in closing, no one will dismay my opinion on Terror Train. And all the weirdness it has, it's still, you know, maybe it's because it's the first, like you said,
Yeah,
that I've seen, so it's got a special place. But
yeah.
it's just a freaky film. If you, it's a creepy film, man. It's unique and it's just set above, man. I think it's just in the top for you know for not having any sequels for a standalone. It is. It's in my top 5 slasher films, quintessential.
That's
It's a
great.
quintessential,
Yeah, dude, I get
you
it.
know, for that golden era.
Yeah. So all I'm gonna say is you could catch me on I have a YouTube channel called Me Like Not Like. It's just me doing like short little reviews of movies that I had seen recently. And you know, I'm gonna go back and do some like older ones. Have like maybe 7 or 8 videos out. I'm working on doing a couple more soon because I still got to do Superman, Fantastic Four, and Weapons. So just look out for those. I mean, you
Well,
go.
what film are you going to do for the next episode of Retro Film Podcast
I'm still like up in the air
for
with.
the next episode?
Well, dude, I mean, because like I really want to do Mother's Day. I want to do Mother's Day.
All right.
All right.
It's a violent fun ride,
I
grindhouse,
know it's gonna be tough talking
insane
about.
film.
It's gonna be tough talking about how much I like that movie. You know,
Huh.
because it's you know it's like it's
It's
such a
dirty.
yeah, it's a messed up, dirty movie, but it's
I thought you would going to go a maniac for sure, but
dude, you know what it is? It's like Mother's Day was one of those movies that we rented on a whim. So like there was nothing really much to the box, like to the cover. You know, it's just the old lady sitting in a
in the
chair.
wheelchair, yeah, in the
Yeah,
chair.
almost looking like a Whistler's mother type of thing happening with the sons in the background, and
The two sons,
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, and a head in a like a in a gift box.
Hey,
So we're
they
like,
were
all right,
killing for mommy.
yeah, it's like, all right, let's check this one out, dude. That movie was just wild from beginning to end.
It is.
Make
All
mama
right.
proud, you know. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
all right,
Hillbillies and killing for mommy.
exactly, man.
Um.
A cracked out looking Tim
So
Curry
we
dude.
appreciate you guys watching. Please spread the word. If you like our content, it's Retro Film Podcast. We'll be doing by the years. I'll be picking one, and then Giuseppe will be picking one, and we'll also be doing teen coming of age films as well mixed in. So just follow, check us out. We appreciate the support.
Thank you very much. Well, this concludes our episode of the Retro Film Podcast on Terror Train. You can find Terror Train on some of your favorite video streaming services, or you can go old school and purchase yourself a physical copy. If you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Retro Film Podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support as much as we love watching these movies. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope that you come back for future episodes.